Hello, and welcome back to Your Friendly Neighborhood, a small business podcast getting up close and personal with the movers, the makers, the shakers, the business owners, the creators, and the innovators of your small town. I already know today's episode is going to be super good for so many reasons, but one, we have like a seasoned podcaster here.
Yeah.
So Kate is a co-host on The Gwen Effect, so super comfortable with this whole scene. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is you're, in my mind, like a creative genius, and I'm just so excited to chat with you about your creative mind, your history, your story with small business ownership. So, without further ado, I'm introducing you to your friendly neighborhood candle maker.
Hi, I'm so excited. I know it's strange to be, I'm always interviewing on this very couch.
Yes.
Always interviewing. And so to be on the other side of it, I'm like, okay, shut the
yeah, no, I want to hear it all.
Let Darcy go. But no, it's really exciting. So yes, as you mentioned, we do the podcast. And yeah, I've been candle making for almost 4 years now.
Okay.
I sent you a little kind of rundown last night in terms of like where the business began, and it's called Good Home. I thought that you were going to do a little play on words there when you're like, it's going to be good.
Good Home. I will say I'm actually really struggling with the titles. So Your Friendly Neighborhood, like blank. Yeah. Because we wear so many more hats than like your primary business. And that's what we'll get into, because you do have so many more hats than just the candle maker. Although that's probably your primary business. Yeah.
And I love saying that. Like that's such like a fun thing to say, not like, I'm like the accountant side. Like that's not fun. Candle making sounds fun and cool. So I'm good with that. But yeah, I started the business almost 4 years ago, and it's called Good Home because I have a true like soul fulfilling passion of like home decor, design. And so when I started the business, I was on mat leave. Okay. My kids are I have two boys. They're 13 months apart. So I had my mat leave, and my youngest was 3 months old, and I knew that like I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to have that flexibility. So I feel like that's how a lot of people do get started, right?
I feel like so many small businesses start on mat leave. Yeah.
Just because you have that cushion, you have the time, not really the time because you're parenting.
But I think that realization that you now have this like little human that you made and you care for, and you're like, I don't know
if you want to be separated.
Yeah. I don't want to go back to the regular.
About parents that are in the States that only have a 3-month maternity
leave. I can't imagine.
No, I cannot either. And yeah, I think that like I have learned one of the biggest lessons that I always want to put across is like time is wealth. Time is wealth. I absolutely feel time is wealth. And so that became like really apparent to me very, very early. As long as I'm like, we can pay our bills, I'm good. And the time is more important because we just talked about how quickly it goes with the kids. And so I started the business Good Home, and I was a retailer. So I was wholesaling, reselling home decor pieces.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I started doing candle making, and actually Joe will kill me, who's producing this podcast. He'll kill me if I don't say it. But he bought me my first candle making kit for my birthday.
Amazing.
And so it was all kind of like happening at the same time. I started making candles, and then I introduced those to the business side, and it just like took off, and it was really well received. I had done a lot of businesses in the past as well. So I do feel like those clients showed up for me in launching this, which was really nice.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And then in that as well, I continue with the home decor, I continue with candle making, and then I launched Good Home Baby, which was a division of Good Home.
Okay.
And I had all these like really just like lovely baby items, like, everything was like sourced from Canada, and that actually did really well too.
Okay.
But nothing like took off as much as the candles did.
Okay.
And it became really obvious, as much as like my heart felt so attached to these other things for personal reasons. I was a parent, and I have that, attachment to decor and design, and I love that. You do have to pivot and go where the money goes, right? And I mean, I still loved candle making just as much as what I was doing. But my time was also limited, and also, you know, like sitting on product, like it's different for us because I feel like
very
you
different.
buy and it goes out the door.
Yeah. Very
for
different.
me, I buy and I have to sit on that product for a little bit. And so I wasn't sitting on those candles as much as I was sitting on everything else. And so I just feel like, the universe was like pushing me that way. And so, so I took the lead on that and just continued with doing that. It's been really successful and lovely and fun. And then 2022, August, I opened a storefront.
Yes.
So that was Good Home Collective, and my heart still feels like a little sad about it. Like it's bittersweet because Joe and I wish he was like sitting here with us because he was involved in a lot of it, but we had said like before anything that we would give it a year and see what this looked like. Do I want to do this? Does it succeed? Is it profitable? What's the response here? Yeah. And I do have to do a little shout out, and I planned this before. Good. I have to give a shout out to the vendors that came on with me and signed those 6-month contracts when I was first launching that put like faith and trust in me and what I was bringing to the community. So I had that shop for a year. Yeah. We decided to close. So the store closed officially last August. Right. And which we can chat more about if you want. And then now we're here and I'm back working from home, still like putting out candles, have a huge collection going right now. Just launched hand soaps and bath salts, brought bath salts back like kind of selfishly for the bath salts. But I'm sure, you know, like every day I'm like, what is my next business? Yep. Where is this going? Like, what else do I want to do? Like,
honestly, so driving out here, this is probably the least prepared podcast episode I've done because I know that this conversation can flow and I know kind of who you are. Very, very similar. Yeah. And I think the thing that sticks out the most to me, which is so funny because I mentioned this to you once and you kind of like, were like, no, that's not me. Like, I'm not that way. And I'm like, well, this is my perspective of you.
Tell me.
Is you are one of the best pivoters I know. Like your ability to like not get your feet stuck in something and know that like the time has passed. I need to move on to something else. Yeah. Is something that I think you're so good at that I think so many small business owners struggle with because it's kind of like our baby. Like we say, like you're so invested into your business. You're so invested into what you're putting out in the world. You're creating something with your hands and putting it out there. Yeah. And that's intimate. Like there's something so personal about that. And I've always admired your ability to do it and then change it. Yeah. And I think you don't
it's not easy as it looks, right? But I will say like, so before I've always been entrepreneurial, as I'm sure you have been as well. And I think a lot of people who have small businesses right now have probably already like had that part of them. And potentially ADHD undiagnosed or not.
Also something I thought about on the drive out.
And so there was a lot of businesses that I've had in the past. So I had a cake company. I did custom cakes. I worked for a shop in Belleville for a long time, went on my own because we had moved. Loved doing that. Saw probably similar struggles with you right now with like cost and trying to, you know, fulfill that.
I did the cakes and cupcakes for a little while too. Very minimally.
And
but
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work for very little money.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So that was fun. And I had a lot of people sad when I stopped that because I did have a really good clientele there. And I've done dog grooming. So I love doing that. I did that on my first mat leave. And then I found out I was pregnant again.
Right. And that's when that transition. Right.
Luke was born and then I was pregnant 4 months later. And like I took my mortgage agent certification, which is
so funny. I just saw that. Yeah. In your
I can't even do my taxes at all. Like what was I thinking doing that? But I did it. But honestly, like I appreciate you saying that because I don't feel like I've always been that way. I feel like I would start something and quit really, really quickly. Okay. And I feel like I had to be really intentional to say like, I need to follow this through, whatever this looks like. But I think not being married to like how you get there, but being married to the lifestyle. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And and I think I've looked a lot recently and like been reflecting since this podcast started on the differences in business owners, but also so many similarities. But some of the up and coming businesses or like brand new businesses, where I'll kind of look at them or I'll chat with them and know them and think like, see their frustration with like, oh, it's, you know, I only have 100 followers and I really want this to be big and I want this to be what some of our businesses have turned into.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking like, what is the issue and what do they need to do and what would my advice be? And it's to pivot. It's to like, the business that you start out with is never actually the business that it ends up being.
Absolutely.
And I think that you have to be so open to pivoting. And I think that's something I've like learned just from viewing you.
And not being ashamed to try things.
I was actually, as you were talking, like the grooming, the mortgage, like I'm like, that actually involves so much confidence in yourself. Like trust and confidence in yourself to be able to just like jump into something and see what happens and not be ashamed.
It's the creative side too. But even like, okay, like for me, you know, there's a level of, I don't want to, it's not shame, but just, you know, you do worry about like, what do people think? And I think about the store and I think, you know, that was a really big, undertaking for us. And, you know, you want people to know that like it was successful. You want people to know that it was, you know, community showed up and that everybody was succeeding there. But in the end, like it didn't align with my lifestyle. It didn't align with like what growing my own business, right? I was growing a whole bunch of other people's businesses, which was great, but not aligned for me. And I needed to show up there every single day and be there. And so sometimes it is really nerve-wracking to like put yourself out there and try things in a public way. And so whether it's confidence or whether it's kind of like fake it till you make it, right? I do feel like there's some level of just like needing to be accepting of that because you just do want to succeed. You know? So there's
I think it really does come down to maybe that balance. Like, yes, we as somewhat like public people, and especially with social media, I think we're like more public, have some of those like intimidating feelings or some of those, I guess, shameful feelings or embarrassed or like not super confident. But it's counteracted by that fake it till you make it and by the like the desire and the passion that we have within our business. And so I think that's kind of that balance that when you're starting out, you're super nervous. And then the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. And the more you're like, the business and this passion is actually so much more than the embarrassment that I might have that
and somebody... you find your path, you find your way. And I think even too, to like doing, I've talked to a couple other people about doing markets and events and you know, there's a level of anxiety. Like I struggle with anxiety very much. And, you know, to show up and put yourself in front of somebody. So it is almost like you're wearing this like mask a lot in business, right? And so also like advice to those other accounts that are beginning and growing. I do feel like the other side of that is letting people in and having that personal connection. Right.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I think that that's something, you know, that, we do make ourselves accessible. And I do share a lot about myself and my life and my personal struggles. And I'm super transparent about, you know, changing things. And I think having that level of vulnerability is so key. I
think it's what people can connect to. And I think it's like a weird conversation in the social media world where it's like, you know, like be authentic. And then you're kind of like faking authenticity at times, or you've seen people do that. And when we talk about being authentic, then is it really authentic? Like, you know, that kind of that like disconnect that happens there. But I think a place that you and I are really similar again is that it's genuine because it actually is really healing to me to share certain things and like be open about certain things. And sometimes most often I post things with actually no intention of anybody watching it. Like I'm just doing it. And then I'm like, oh, I'm getting feedback from this and people are talking to me about it. And like,
and it's funny because those are the ones that probably do the best. Especially on social media for sure. I am like the most open book a book could be. My mom, I remember I would always get in trouble like, stop telling people everything.
Same.
And I have no filter. And it's like a blessing and a curse. And I feel like for social media, it is a blessing because I'm willing to just like show up
and tell you myself. Who I am. And
yeah. And I think that, and also one thing, I love bringing humor to social media. I am so funny. Thank you for saying that.
You're so welcome. I think I've been very funny recently, and I'm not usually
super funny.
I actually just texted my sisters this week and I was like, guys, like I'm just gonna shout myself out. I am fucking funny right now. And I'm not usually. I'm not usually a funny girl, but thank you.
I think I have to tell you this. I saw this. Have you seen the movie Ratatouille?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have Joe link it if he can. I think that there is such a disappointment sometimes when you post the funniest shit and people, okay, I sent this video. It was a girl and she walked into the apartment. Have you seen this?
I don't know.
She walked into the apartment. She's like, so-and-so, I just saw a rat in the building. And then this girl's in the kitchen and she has this big chef hat on and she's like, what? Oh no. And she's like grabbing things like from the, and I sent that around and nobody saw the movie. None of my friends. And I was like,
they like did not.
Oh, it's such a disappointment when funny, like humor can't be appreciated.
Yes.
But I do feel like a lot of people are stepping their social media game up. I don't know if it's like spring or not, but I feel like
so I just said, the cheesy pear is what I do, but I'm also in a therapy office and like about to be a full therapist.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So that's been super exciting. And I just was talking with the girls. We had a little social yesterday and was like, January, definitely mental health month, not great for me. Like just as so many people, I just feel like it's this weird long month of like with a lot of hype and then a lot of downfall kind of thing. And, I was like, the only thing I'm enjoying right now is social media. Yeah. I was like, I'm not wanting to do anything else but like make funny reels and that doesn't happen all year. It's like ups and downs, right?
Go through phases.
But I'm in a phase right now where I'm like, yeah, let me manage social media. I love this. I'm having fun with it. Let me make more reels. And I think that we have to go with that flow. Like you have to, and I think that's actually every creative I talk to, your creative like juices are up and down,
peaking
all the time. And it's like I think I'm really learning to go with it, whereas I used to be like when I'd get in like a valley of not feeling super creative, I'd get hard on myself and be like, you need to be coming up with something new, like you need like, and I would push it and then it wasn't authentic, right? And now I'm like really flowing with it. Like when I have great ideas, I'm like, let's do it, let's actually like jump in. And then when I don't, I'm like, it's not the time.
It's
like
okay.
You need to
I remember you took that break too, right? You were so worried about taking that break.
Yeah, so worried. And
you're like, my following stayed and everybody's showing up when you're ready to be back. I think that this is one thing I'll say, because I do talk to a lot of other business owners about social media. And I know a lot of people struggle with social media. And I really think that if you think social media is hard, it's because you're overthinking it.
I agree.
I think that it should just... It's actually just, maybe it's just easy for us. But
no, but I think it's when
God, don't roll your eyes. It's true.
I think it's when it is like, what's your social media strategy? What's your brand? What's your pillars? And like, I have no idea what that is. Like, I have no idea what my pillars are. No idea really what my brand is like.
But part of your brand is RC.
Yeah. And that's what I think. I've said that multiple times, like about that, like niching down, and like Instagram reels will tell you like, oh, you have to find your niche, stick with your niche, only talk to your niche. And I'm like, who is my niche? Because I have lots of like, it's the juicy pear, but I also am a mom. I also have friends. I also have family. I also am in school. I also like all of these things. And that's all of me. Yeah. And so I think that is like, your brand is you. So just put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
And I mean, some people, it's really not in their wheelhouse. And then I think that is when we like reach out for social media help and stuff like that. And that's so great for people. But I also think that if you're in a creative small business, social media is actually just another creative avenue.
Yeah, 100.
And that's why 110%. I will like go to my grave saying I love social media.
I do too.
I know that gets a really bad rap. I know there's a lot of like negative implications with social media, but not for me.
It's an amazing tool. I think it is free.
Yeah.
Right? You can get so much reach and you can really convey emotion on social media. And I think that's really important. And I think that conveying emotion part, it just takes me to, so before I had opened the store, I worked with Kingston Economic Development.
Okay.
And I worked with Pam.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And Claire Bouvier was involved. So I did kind of like a mentorship program with Claire last April, like 2 Aprils ago. What year is that? Yeah, 2 Aprils ago. So 2022. And it was like a week-long course, and it was, you know, about business. And she is like so talented. Her dad was my marketing teacher in high school. Loved him. And she gave great feedback. And at the end of the program, there was 21 or 22 of us. And we all submitted our business plan with a proposal, and 10 of us got grants up to $5,000.
Amazing.
And so I submitted, and you only had 5 minutes to do your presentation.
Right.
And I took 1.5 minutes. I used Carly from Woodland Film Co. I took 1.5 minutes of that, which is a big chunk of that to be able to put out info. And I made a commercial.
Okay.
So I made a commercial, and I had my friend come in, and she was a mom. Essentially, it was me. A character is me, and she was, you know, lighting a candle in her kitchen, or she was putting bath salts in the tub, and just taking all these moments for herself. And I really do feel like with my brand, that's what it gives to me, right? I feel like candles for me, home fragrance, you know, these are affordable luxuries, because I do really try to prioritize affordability in my brand.
You do,
with a luxury feeling. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's about self-care.
I was just going to say, I was like, everything you said there, that is self-care.
It's self-care. It's taking care of yourself. And I think one of the funny things about it too is whenever I would go out shopping, I love, Joe knows, I love to go to Homesteads or wherever, and I don't even really buy anything. I just go, I look around, but I could always justify buying a candle.
Yeah.
Always
that's very true.
Yeah, and it was just an easy thing. And so so I got a portion of that grant, which is amazing. My nose is, I can't breathe, sorry. I'm just getting over being sick, so I don't normally sound like this, but I got a portion of that grant. It was a really cool opportunity and experience, and I do feel like a big part of that was because I prioritize like that emotional side of consumerism. You know, and how you got to catch people with that.
I think that's another example of you like jumping into something. Yeah. Like you having the confidence and the like trust in yourself to just like, jump in and try something. No, I really think this about you, and I don't think you think this about you. And I'm like, when somebody else is watching you, that's what I see is I'm like, you have the confidence to just jump in and try things. And like, I think that you're not afraid to fail. I think you're not, and I don't even know if it's failure, but like you're not afraid for it to not work out 100%.
Actually, like listening to you talk, that's what it is. It's because I know I'm not going to fail. That's where the pivoting comes in. Yeah. Because for me, it's not about like succeeding or failing. It's about only succeeding. Yeah. Right.
And like I think that's that trust of like, you know, they say like you don't know you can fly till you like jump off the branch or something like that. Like, I think that's kind of what I see with you is it's like, you don't mind jumping in because you know, know who you are, what you always have to fall back on.
I feel like I've always been that way. I have a twin brother, and my brother is very different from myself. Okay. Really super shy. He's like 6'100". Like he's so tall. Like you would never know we're related.
That's so funny.
And my mom would always explain us as like, if like we were at a pond, Taylor would be like dipping his toes in, like testing the water, checking the temperature, how deep is it, and I would be just jumping in. Yeah. And so I do feel like, like now that this is all like in front of me, right? I do feel like, that's been my personality always. And just, wanting to succeed in like that lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. Part of it as well.
Kind of, I think I'm close to you on that, but maybe like back a little bit. And what I'm thinking of is, I have said this probably every episode, but I did quit my full-time job in September of this year, which was
another congratulations.
Thank you. But like months and months of me trying to make that decision. Yeah. And I'm a single mom with health concerns and like only me to fall back on. And I had a pension and benefits at this job, and that's what I was walking away from. And I grew up being told like, you need the pension, you need the benefits, don't walk away from that. My creative side was always very the side thing. Like it was like, you have your job and then like you get to be creative on weekends, Darcy, and that's great. And you're such a like artist that way, and you know, be an artist on the weekends. And I don't think I really considered that I could do something else, or I could be another way. But I had a phone call with my sister, and I like remember it so well, like where you're sitting, what it, you know, all of that. And she said to me, and I've used this so many times since, like I've actually used it in therapy, and it's like the resume of you. And if you look at the resume of you, and not job only, but just like who you are, your profile, like who you're all about, what your history shows, you're not going to fail. Right. And she was like, the history of you shows that like worst case scenario, you will figure this out and you will be successful. And she's like, you could quit the job tomorrow and know that you will come up with something because you always have.
She sounds like a great sister.
Yeah. And I think she is a great sister. I should stop there and say that. Yes. But I think that's exactly the trust that you have in yourself, is that when you have that history of like, this has worked out for me in the past, it's going to work out this time. And work out doesn't mean it's going to work like that plan is going to work and be successful.
Get there the way that you thought that you were going to get there, right? That getting there could look different.
It can look very different, and just that
being accepting,
the pivoting
and
again, and trusting yourself, and I think that's so key in business ownership. And I think that's really key in being successful in this whole like entrepreneurial world.
What do you think? Like, do you? So I think. Sorry, I need a cough. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I have always said, like, I not feel bad, but like I can't understand people who will do a job forever. And I know that, like, I have a friend that comes to mind. She has a government job. She always knew that was going to be her path when she finished school, that she was going to, you know, go to her government job, and she was going to work her 9 to 5 and grow and invest and do all these things. And I just like know that I will never do the same thing forever. And I just feel like life is so short to do the same thing forever. Right. So I think that that's one thing that I always feel is that, I just think like life is so short. Just like you spend so much time working, right? So you like really do you should love what you do.
That was a really big thing for me with quitting, was when I realized, like, at the age of 30 is when I was thinking, it was like the year I turned 30 that I went back to school for my master's, and I had looked at this master's program for 5 years.
Wow. Oh, we talked about this on our podcast.
on your podcast, and was like, when I realized that I had 30 working years left, and like my only true concept of time is the 30 years that I've been alive. And I'm like, literally from birth till now, I have to work again. So what is a 3-year degree? Like,
it's the perspective change.
And it totally changed for me. And then that, like, whatever amount of time I have on this earth, I want it to be enjoyable, and I want it to be magical, and I want it to be fun, and I want it to be exciting in as many ways as we possibly can.
I think people want like that instant, right? It's not even just in that situation, but people want everything now. And so it's really hard to like have self-control or invest in yourself, or you know, especially yourself. That's the biggest gamble, right? Into like something new, walking away from something that feels so secure.
And I think, again, it's that trust in yourself. Like, it was that feeling that, like, you know, I can sign up for this, I can pay a whole lot of money for this, and it can still be wrong, and that's okay. Like, because I know I'm the person that can make this work in some, like, maybe not that work, but my life work. And I think that's so key.
Nothing is permanent. Like, like, and that was the thing too, especially when we were talking about the store. Nothing is permanent. Like, if I don't like it, okay, will you do something else? That's like, so and true. I do feel like that's important. And I feel like maybe like more now that I'm a parent, and I want to show this for my kids, that they could have like endless opportunity, and like whatever they want to do is not too far out of reach, that like, you know, they'll get there. I think one of my favorite like lessons over the last few years has been that, and I think I've always been this way, but never had like the words to attach to it, is that like you literally get to reinvent yourself every single day. And like, and I think that's where a lot of that sort of like that embarrassment or shame about putting yourself out there comes from, is that you assume that people only know one version of you, and like, well, I've created this image for myself of who I am, and I can't change that. And I've never been that person. I have always transitioned because I actually can't pick. And so like, it's kind of a joke. Right? And it's like, kind of a joke, like just in my fashion sense, that I have like 100 different outfits, because I'm like this person one day, this person the next day. And I think that is like just a testament to like a deeper philosophy for me, which is that you can truly reinvent yourself whenever you want. And it's like, what's that like little quote? And it's like, you can throw in a plot twist whenever you need. And also the one that's like really coming up a lot too, that like on social media, that says like, oh, she's so cringe, she wants to start a business, or oh, she's so cringe, she wants to be an influencer. And it's like, what's actually cringe is like you making fun of people, right, for putting themselves out there. And it's like, it's true. And here's my argument to that, because I've seen that reel recently. It came up at one of the first coffee and content thing that we ran, where do you do that? Like, are you watching social media and being like, ooh, that person's cringe? No, I don't think I ever do that, unless it's like the intentional cringy videos. Like I have been coming across like some of the ones where like people react to like compilations of cringy videos of like people like like being cringy. And I'm not saying like, I don't want to say like 100%. I've never so ever not in like, no, but like that one, if somebody's out there trying or like starting something new, or like I
maybe I think their product looks crappy, or like I have never then been like, ooh, that person's like cringy or a loser or like whatever.
And you want people to succeed.
And I just don't think general population does. Like I don't think people are sitting behind their screens making fun of you.
Yeah. I know.
Maybe I'm naive.
Insecurity thing though, right? That's like, that's an insecurity thing. I remember when I first used to start to post, I would watch my reels like 5 times before I'd post them. And now I just like post a story and like, I don't watch it back because I'm only going to say this one time to the phone, and it's going to be authentic and genuine how it's coming across. So, I mean, I could talk about social media like all day because I think like, it's such a great platform that we have the opportunity for to use. And I think, the reach is amazing. I would love to go viral, but like, I know I'm that always would be watching very those fun. Reels of like, people are like, it's so easy to go viral. And then I'm like, what the fuck? I don't understand. How? But then also does that translate into sales? So there's kind of, there's kind of, I
have a lot of thoughts on that actually, in terms of like social media gurus and like social media, like people telling you how to use social media and stuff. And I think it comes back to your goals. And like, I don't use social media for my sales. I mean, I do, but that's not my intention behind social media. And I think that's a difference. So sometimes I have actually had people reach out saying like, that doesn't actually translate to your sales. Like, make sure you stay in this or whatever. And I'm like, it's just actually not why I'm using it. Like I'm just having fun with it. And, the outcome is like more views means more potential customers, I guess. So that part's okay. But I think there's sometimes a disconnect in that, like really utilizing the platform.
Yeah. I actually, I'm sure Claire said this when she did her course. Like the statistic that you need to reach a potential client 7 times before they'll consider making a sale with you. So that's why I'm like, I love social media, because you can just, no matter what you're posting, you're still staying present in people's minds, right? You're still staying like at the forefront of like what people are seeing. And then it just kind of builds that trust.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That's
it
a
builds
good point.
A lot of trust. So I liked that. I was like, oh yeah. So that really, sometimes I'll see people at markets and I'll recognize them. I'm like, okay, like, you've come, you've checked things out. Right. And I'm like, hey, it's my 4th time seeing you. Like, I'm going to make a sale
3 more and you're going to, yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. It kind of like teaches them patience in that too. But, I think that I felt like that was really interesting. It also took some pressure off too.
It does. Yeah.
So,
that not everybody has to be a sale either. Like it's,
I know,
it's that engagement, like that connection, that
people who share stuff for you or comment on your things. Like I did a story on this actually the other day that like, I am well aware, like I am beyond like scary aware that my business succeeding and my whole livelihood, is 1,000% dependent on people purchasing. Right. And 95% of my sales are local. Yep. And so, I have shipped a lot. Like I've shipped all over Canada. I've had product go to Italy, which was really cool. So cool. I've shipped to like Maryland and Washington. So I've shipped to the States as well. But I mean, most part is local. And like, I am fearful that like, I never want anybody to think that like, I take that for granted, that I know how much, how much rides on just like having those relationships. And so like, it's funny, they have that quote that like, a client will become a friend faster than a friend will become a client. Yes. Yeah. And like the amount of people that I just like have built these relationships with who have just shown me support purely because they love the product, and then have continued to support me as a person, or have supported me as a person and then become great clients. It's like, it's invaluable to me. I never would want anyone to think that I don't recognize that or don't take that for granted, because like, I'm super grateful that I have this opportunity, and that's how I look at it. And then there's this fear that like, is that going to ever go away? Am I always going to have this, So there is obviously that pressure of transition. Like, what's next? And then that comes into like comparison and like, and those things as well. So,
and some of the anxiety building and that sort of piece. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay. I do have a question. Total flip here, but what is a collective?
Okay, so the collective, so it was a collection of local makers. Okay. There was at one point almost 50 brands in the store.
Was there really?
Yeah. So the way that the collective was set up, and it was 2 years ago, and I feel like collectives are really emerging now. Yeah. I learned so much, like so much. And I do think, you know, maybe that would be a future for me when the kids are a little bit older. You know, my son has medical needs as well. So we have an appointment a week for him. And that slowed down a little bit for us. We have 7 or 6 appointments this month. But, you know, when that starts making a little bit more sense, I feel like maybe that's something I could go back to because I learned so much. So I really did want it to be a collective of all my favorite things, a collection, if you will. And yeah, like it was extremely successful. And some of the brands that came in just like, I felt bad closing because it was actually like a significant stream of revenue for them. That's cool. I mean, the way that I had it structured, so I opened in August and I had it structured that I would have everybody sign a 6-month agreement. Okay. So I had everybody pay a base rate at that 6 months, and they got 100% of their sales back. Okay. At that time, because my way of thinking at that time was, I want to expand like my studio because I had so much stuff. I was working in our bedroom. Right. We were sleeping in like the downstairs front room. So my whole master bedroom had been taken over. Now I have this little itty bitty tiny room that's not even big enough, but it's fine.
We're making it work.
And so I had to move things in my space, but I just wanted to grow. I wanted to grow my business. I wanted to consider separation between doing things at home in business, and grow my stuff. So I didn't really care about profiting like off other businesses, right? Like I was like, I just want to do what I'm doing. And if this can help me pay the rent and I can also still be a platform for other people to grow their businesses, that's great. But I went into, within that 6 months, we went right in really quick to, so I guess we opened September 1st. So we were September to February. Okay. End of February. So Christmas, right? Fall, Christmas, new store opening. Yeah. And it was crazy. Like the sales were so high. And then so when I looked at my expenses, because at one point I had 4 staff, right? 4 part-time staff. When I looked at the expenses, I'm like, this cannot work. Like, even though my business had grown a lot and I was doing a lot in sales as well, I'm like, for the amount of money that I'm making, this is lovely if I didn't have any costs, right? But those costs also went up really, really high. Like I just did my T4s in like the last 6 months or the first 6 months of this last year. It was like over 10 grand in labor, you know, which is insane. I'm selling $23 candles, you know? So, so after that 6 months, because I was sending everybody, you know, their sales and I was, doing scheduling and I was doing all the payouts. So then I had to do all WSIB stuff then, cause I had employees now. So that actually started to look like that I wasn't even making candles anymore. Right. So I stopped being, I wasn't doing any of the candle bars because they were evenings and weekends. So I didn't work evenings and weekends. Yeah. And so I wasn't doing candle bars and I wasn't really making the product because I was trying to take care of, you know, new business, product coming in from other vendors or vendor concerns or, you know, displaying the store, which I loved doing that. Like, I wish I could just be like a merchandiser.
Beautiful store.
It was so lovely. And I worked with what I could and I tried to, you know, make it as, I'm like all about like beauty on a budget. So I tried to do as much as I could with that. And I look back at pictures and I'm like, I just felt like it was my heart, like, you know, there. Because I love community. I love collaboration. Yeah. I love what I'm doing and I love just like pretty things. And the store did evolve into being a real focus on like self-care, you know, and luxuries, but still everything really affordable. I had so many brands and products that were offered like under $25, especially being in Napanee. I feel like, you know, that's important. And we were, you know, just post COVID and there was a lot of changes. And so people were at that point really starting to hold on to their money. Yeah. And so at the end of that 6-month term, I had moved everybody to consignment. Okay. Which created even more work for myself. But I look at the money that I would have made if I would have had everyone on consignment originally. Right. And it would have been significantly higher. Okay. But I also didn't know how the store was going to do. Am I going to be able to pay these bills? So there was some security in that. So I learned my lesson in that. I don't regret doing that because I needed to learn that lesson, but I moved everybody onto consignment, but it was March, right? So everybody that knew that came in January to March was in on consignment and it was so slow. So I actually would have been better to hold on right?
Okay.
Because everything, sales were really slow. Actually, March was slower than January, interestingly. And but things picked up again. And then at one point I had like, I think 45, almost 50 vendors in the store. Everyone was really local. Like I had like Ottawa and things like that was kind of like the furthest. I had one Montreal brand,
right?
And then one brand from BC, but everyone else was like
very local,
super local. And so I'm just like the connections and the relationships that still continue with these brands, I just feel really connected with. The doors open there, like it was just, it was great. But that came down to time, and you know, the expenses were really high. So I did look at like, okay, I made X amount, but my expenses were this. So I only made, you know, $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 more than I made last year. Yeah. Is this really worth
all of that extra work? Yeah.
Right. And my time. That is one thing, just throwing that out there, that I do wish people would be more transparent in business about money.
Okay. So I actually, the whole time you were saying that, was like, can't wait till I get to say, you have talked to me about that many times. Yeah. That you're very open about money, and you wish that other people were. Yeah. Because I do think it's something that needs to be talked about.
I think it's important because of like expectation as well. Obviously every brand is different. Every product is different. Yeah. But I think too, like you do go on social media again and see like, oh, I made, you know, $500,000 in sales and this and that. And I think too, the other part of it is like the cost of running a business is insane. And like, you know, so I could make, you know, 90,000 for a year, 100,000, but my expenses are 55,000. Yeah. You know, like it's just, it's crazy to think the cost.
I think that's even like when I quit my full-time job, like I didn't quit my full-time job to do Cheesy Pear full-time. Like Cheesy Pear is not successful enough to be a full-time income for me and my family. Right. And I think that's not, I think a lot of people think I quit my job for full-time Cheesy Pear. And that's not the case. And like, I do think that's a big thing for people, is that we're not really talking about that. You do hear so many people quitting their full-time job for their small business. And like, there is more to it than what you see.
People showing up on social media and they look really busy. Yeah. And I will absolutely post when I am busy. Yeah. When I'm busy, and I've been busy. But I will still post when I'm not busy to look busy. Do you know what I mean? And that's honest. And like, I feel like, you know, so there's another candle company actually that I follow that's in Ottawa area, and I love her content. I love what she's putting out. And she's always freaking pouring. She's always pouring. And so that comparison factor comes in like, that I'm like, holy cow, right? Like, yeah. So I think there's that. And then there's also too, like scaling, right? Because I think, I just had this conversation with my mom last night, and I could talk to you about it forever. But I think, okay, I have products sitting at Black Barn. Yep. Shout out to Black Barn and Appanee. You can shop the whole collection there. Ashley's been incredibly supportive of like helping support the brand there. And I think that's been a great partnership. And she has amazing stuff in there. And they have Shayla, who's an interior designer. Right. So that's cool that they share the space and feels reflective of myself. I was just going to say,
it totally fits your...
but I'm like, okay, so I have to have products sitting here. I have to have products sitting there. I have 2 wholesale requests right now. Yeah. And then I need to have product for this market. So like to be able to also then sit on this is sometimes so hard. And I'm like, okay, are these people doing wholesale? Yeah. All these other things. How are they doing that? Because I go through phases for sure right now. I'm like, and I talk to 12.5 Jen about this all the time. Shout out to Jen. I love her so much. Maybe she can be like a little, this will be like a segue for her. Yeah. Too.
I know. I have reached out to her actually, to be honest.
She's amazing. And like, I love having a candle friend in the community that's local. Like we share so much, and there's like,
and let's take a moment to say that you can be friends with competition.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't even know if I like using the word competition because it has such a negative connotation to it, but like somebody are doing friends,
something similar.
Yeah. You are friends with people in very similar product fields or, you know, areas.
And she's like, we definitely like have such a difference in our business, but we can relate on so much, like even like sharing supplier info. Like we've been really, really open and supportive to each other. And I just love talking to her. And I kind of forget where this is going. But I was saying to her, I I feel like I'm just paying so I can keep making money. Like I'm paying to work right now, and it ebbs and flows because essentially I do have a seasonal business, right? Yeah. I'm very busy from August to December, and then it kind of slows down. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes it feels like that.
That's so interesting. I love the lessons that come through all of it. Like even just, again, you jumping into the storefront, having the collective, and the lessons that you learned within it are so valuable. And then being able to step away from it, but still have those lessons. Like you've learned so much, but you didn't have that need to like, well, I've learned it, I have to fulfill it, or I have to show something about what I learned now. And I love that you've done that, and that you like can change.
In the back pocket too, right? That I'm like,
you can always do something else. Yeah. Would you say right now you have like that big scary dream with Good Home?
So I haven't. So, okay. When the store closed, and like, I don't know if we want to like, I don't know how much time we have, if we want to like get too deep into this, but when the store closed, I like went through like a depression. Okay. Through that. And it wasn't like brought on by that, but I like went through it at that time, and it wasn't about that specifically. And I really just like stepped back. Like I was still producing. I was still really happy with what I was putting out, but it was the first time in the business in the 3 years that I didn't feel like I was like, I want to do all this. I want to try. I have ideas. Like I was just like autopilot almost with the business. And so in December,
that was me last summer.
Yeah. And like, I really like was shut down from it, still doing it, still happy to be doing it. But I like the way I normally am is that like fire an idea a day, there. Right?
Yep,
like I'm
same.
like,
I know exactly.
Go. What's next? But after that, I was really just like conserving my energy. And I was like,
I actually believe is burnout.
Yeah. I was really content just to stay put and like just not do more, not say yes, not take on more. Let's just like get by with what we have. But this year I felt really motivated. I launched like a 41 scent collection. I had so many oils on the shelf from Candle Bar and things, which I'm still doing candle bars, and they're so much fun. So exciting. And so I'm like, let's just like move it. Let's like give everybody like all the options, and there's something for everyone. But yeah, I'm like, let's just like go crazy. I have 2 collections lined up, but I did like drop off the other day, and I said to my mom, I'm like, it's the first time that I felt like I'm like, I don't know, like what's like next. Yeah. And actually I had a job offer. I was like looking for a part-time job for a little bit because I'm like, maybe I want to get out. Like maybe I need something a little bit secure. Yeah. And I had a job offer, and it would have been like a great job, but I turned it down because I just felt like it was too much like mental outside of what the business takes. Doing. Yeah. But this week I just like put out a call for like something potential and said like, I can maybe support you in this. And like, I don't know what's going to come of that, but I am trying to like make this year about like making opportunities for myself, whether that be in the business or whether that be with something else that fulfills me.
Just opening doors and seeing what comes.
All the doors. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have a follower question for you.
Yay.
So I have to bring that up.
That's exciting. Makes me feel like important.
I know.
Like makes me feel validated.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask another question as I'm finding this. Okay. And that is, what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs looking to start a business in this local area? Okay. Interesting. I think it's been like a theme of the podcast is don't be afraid to pivot. Yeah. Right. It's been a theme of the podcast. And because I had a lot of other businesses in the past that like, you know, I did, but they never really took off. Like I even had a blog at one point. And like I just find something that sticks and just work with that. Yeah. You know, it like, and again, it's about pivoting, I guess, right? It's like, well, that didn't catch on. I do think about other businesses as well. And it's like, find something that someone's succeeding at and find a way to make it unique. Yeah. To you. That's very true.
Right.
That actually ties into the follower question very well, which is, if you could have a dream small business, money is no issue, resources are no issue, what would it be?
Oh my God. How can
I feel like you have 100. I do too. But what's coming to mind?
It would be a shop that was a coffee shop, but also had cocktails, but also had a flower bar, but also
had a library, library.
I'm not a reader.
Okay.
But
I'm picturing the coffee shop, the cocktails. I'll manage the coffee shop and the library. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll bring you on as partner.
Okay, great.
And and like self-care goods, like just all the things I want. And then maybe like, I don't know. And I do love design. So I'm like, is there room for me in that somewhere? Maybe, I don't know. I worry about a service. I worry about being there for somebody as service. Even when I do custom stuff, I'm like, are they gonna like it? Is it good?
Yes, whatever. Very hard. Right? I found that with the cakes a lot. Like actually, like I feel like my anxiety with that business was not worth the business.
Did you do brides?
No. I was very small, and like it was one of those like, oh, I would make cakes and cupcakes for my coworkers on their birthday, and then a couple of people were like, hey, would you mind like if I paid you to do $20 to make some cupcakes for like, and it started like that. Didn't mind doing it for friends, but then when there were like coworkers that I wasn't very close with that would then ask me to do it, I like the anxiety that I would go through leading into that was not actually worth it. Like,
so I don't know if I could ever offer service. I did. I think I told you I got a tattoo gun. I gave Joe a tattoo. I think he's gonna show it off right now.
So exciting.
I don't know. I just want to try a whole bunch of stuff, and then like
I'm the same way. Like
we'll try it. We'll see.
Let's try and just see what happens.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. A makeup artist. You could be a makeup artist. We talked about that recently. You're really good at makeup. I've considered, honestly, actually, I did just look at school program to maybe go back to like an ECE, even though I am like, kids are okay, but I do feel like I'm really good with kids. And so I didn't say this here. And if you follow me, like even remotely, you know that our youngest son is deaf and has hearing loss. And so I've also learned so much, like we do speech therapy. So I feel like I have like, I'm so equipped with now in supporting him and like our other son as well in terms of like language and development. I feel like maybe that could be something social work. I don't know. Like, who knows? There's just so many. I think I actually get very overwhelmed with the amount of opportunities we have.
We could literally do anything.
I could do something different every day. And like, what if this is what I want to do? And maybe I want to move here and do this. And like, yes, I actually sometimes get overwhelmed with all the opportunities.
Sometimes I feel like maybe I'll also be a manager to Joe and like get this shit going in here.
That would be super
in the
cool.
studio.
I cannot imagine like the manager thing other than like Kris Jenner. And I'm like, I see you being like, all right. Like,
he'd be like, get the fuck out now. He's already like, leave.
Bye. Okay. 2 last questions then. If you had to answer quickly, what is your why? Why are you in small business?
Time. Absolutely. Flexibility. Time.
Okay. I love that. And I've been asking everybody, but your favorite account to follow right now, your favorite small business.
Good. Okay. I actually have a couple.
Okay.
I hope that's okay. First off, I wanted to, because I've already thought about it. I wanted to shout out The Small Social.
Yeah.
Okay. They are a social media marketing company.
Right.
They are so fucking funny. Like they are hilarious. Their content is so original, so fun, so funny. And it actually looks like a dream to work there.
It does.
Like it looks like,
I literally looked at one of their job postings like a year ago because I was like, this just looks so fun.
It's so fun.
I want to be a
so
part
I
of
love
these
their
girls.
content because it is original. I also love, I don't know if you know Cassidy Webb, but she has Poppy and Cotton, but she also works for Brooke at Runway Bridal in Belleville.
Okay.
And so it's a bridal Instagram page. But Cassidy is so creative, so funny. Her reels are just like so clever. Like she just is so smart, and it's like nothing that I see before, right? It's so original, the stuff that she puts out. And it's funny. She's got humor to it. So I love her. And then just like a shout out to my people too, like Cozy Company, love them. Like they're just great, you know, and Brooke works for Small Social.
Yes,
so she's like, she's on her game.
That's kind of your connection there.
And Sunshine and Coffee. I love Kira's page with our cup, and I love,
I just got the same cup.
Yeah. I love her page because her branding is like, if you've ever seen her at markets, she's so consistent with her image, her, like all of her marketing stuff. She's got a very clear brand identity. Yeah. So I know that was more than one, but those.
No, I love that. I mean,
I could list 100. Like,
and I think I say this every time whenever I ask that question, the guest is like, "Oh, I don't know," and I'm like, but for me, like I always have a new favorite of the month. Like I'm like, oh, this person is like, I love what they're doing right now, or this looks a little bit new, or it's somebody totally new that I like just find that I'm obsessed
and
with for the next.
And it's what you can kind of get out of them. There's something like I feel like I get something out of those too. And also just this one in there, Sarah at the Beauty Development. She's I think working with small social, maybe not.
Okay.
But her reels have just been like
very good recently.
She's been funny too. So
yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Me too. It's nice to be on the other side of it.
Yeah. It was a good experience. You like it?
Yeah, so
you're a natural.
10 out of 10.
Okay.
We'll have to watch it back and I'll let you know.
I know. All right. Well, thank you for being here. XOXO, your friendly neighborhood podcast.